Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I am happy to be here with you today. And we're going to be talking about the America Rescue Plan. It's a great idea, isn't it? You're going to get $1,400. Hooray! Everyone in America is saved. It has fixed everything. Or has it? What is the real cost? What is this bill and its various parts seriously and really going to do for America? We're going to take a look at that. Now, before we get to that, if you've never been on this program before, we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all media that we can, as long as the internet overloads allow us to, because we believe in free speech. And we look forward to seeing you joining us, talking about the issues that affect us and adding your voice and your thoughts to those issues. So we hope to see you on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But what about the American Rescue Act? It's got a great name. Sounds good. Sounds patriotic, like the Patriot Act, like the Obama stimulus. It sounds good. This is positive. But is it? Does it really help America? I mean, let's understand. Right now, the United States is 27.7, let's call it $27.8 trillion in debt. That is a huge amount of money. That is a ridiculous amount of money. Every year, the United States gets in from taxes for business and corporations about 3.2 to 3.8 trillion dollars, as you can see right here. But this year we've spent 6.6 so far. That is an enormous amount. That is well above. It's 2.5 trillion more than we normally spend, and we're looking at Joe Biden putting just under 2 trillion more in debt. This is a problem. And this is a big problem, because if we look at it, if you took every asset in America for every single one of our 330 million people, that's about $472,000 per American citizen. But we owe as a nation $479,000. So in fact, we are roughly about $7,000 in debt per American citizen if everyone had the same exact assets. And we know that's not the case. So we're in trouble. We have a problem, and it is a big problem. Let's take a look at the numbers here. So right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we know that there are roughly just under 11 million people in America who are unemployed, about 10.7 million people. And we know that about 4 million people have been out of work for approximately 6 months, 27 weeks. That's bad. It gets worse. On top of that, we know that there are approximately about 8.6 million small businesses in the United States at this time. Now, when the United States is running in a healthy manner, we're closer to about 9 million small businesses. Obviously, there's always some that are being created and some that are going away. But that's a problem, that we're at 8.6 and we're decreasing. 8.6 was during December, which is a peak month, the fourth quarter. That's Christmas purchases, Black Friday after Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, the holiday season, going out and having your year-end business meetings, the holiday parties for the companies. All of that didn't happen. The sales were down. So the environment we're in is worse than we've seen in quite some time. America is in a recession, and that recession was triggered by COVID-19, by the lockdowns, by the numerous restrictions in each and every state, like New York State, California, Michigan. where we see certain businesses can open, some cannot, and many of them have closed since. In fact, on average, across the nation, about 1 in 5 businesses have closed in 2020, an astronomical amount. And we have seen that moving forward, we're going to see at least that kind of churn, if not worse. In fact, we know that after the fourth quarter, which is a surge month, as we just described, because of the end of the year, the holiday season, we saw that in January, even in December, and since January 14th, 965 million people claimed unemployment. That's a huge number. Nearly 1 million people got unemployed. That's a continuing burden for the United States. That is not a healthy economy. So Joe Biden has decided that he is going to combat this with $1.9 trillion in spending. He's going to create $1.9 trillion, nearly $2 trillion in brand new debt. Not money, not income, debt. He's just going to spend money that you don't have, that we don't have, because all of his spending is your taxpayer dollars. This is $1.9 trillion of your money being spent on his ideas, which is not unusual. Presidents do that. Again, even during Trump, we spent about $1.2 trillion per year. Under President Obama, we spent over 8 years $10 trillion. We doubled the national debt of every president and administration in America in its history in 8 years under President Obama. And we added about $1.2 trillion under President Trump. That's not taking into account, of course, 2020 and COVID, where we had exponential increases of that. And now we see Joe Biden is looking to launch even more spending, possibly adding in 2020 somewhere between $6 to $9 trillion by the end of the year. That is a problem. And you may say, well, why is that a problem? Because isn't it a good thing? $1.9 trillion. That means that every single American is going to be receiving, according to the New York Times, $1,400. In fact, not only to every single American, we're going to be giving illegal aliens $1,400. Isn't that great? We're going to give illegal aliens. We're going to give American citizens. Everyone's going to get $1,400. It's what? 2.5 times what we got for the $600 stimulus in December. Joe Biden is a great guy. He is giving you more free money. Except he's not. Let's follow this through. And I know there's a lot of numbers we're talking about. I'm going to try and make it as simple and easy for people to understand as possible. So there's a couple of things I want to hit on. There's the $15 minimum wage that, according to CNN Politics, stated Biden is calling on Congress to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Okay. And his plan, the America Rescue Plan, calls for providing $15 billion to create a new grant program for small business owners, in addition to any other plans. They want to make sure they get $15 billion. These are big numbers. This is huge. This is a great increase for the American people. And if all the data we're speaking about, if you want to look it up for yourself, at the end in the YouTube description, you'll be able to see all the links of everything we're speaking about so you can read it through for yourself. So we're going to be getting more money per hour. We're going to get $15 an hour. We're going to get the small businesses. We're going to get $15 billion. And I didn't want to leave out the fact that for those people who are behind in their rent, the plan, the America Rescue Plan, is going to give $25 billion in rental assistance for low and moderate income households who have lost their jobs during the pandemic. That's just enormous. In fact, he's also going to extend the moratorium, the delay of evictions until September 30th. So even if you're behind, you're not going to get kicked out of your house. This is wonderful. It's everything that you could possibly want. You're getting more money per hour. You're going to get a big fat paycheck from Uncle Sam. And you're going to be able to, if you're behind in your rent, you're going to be able to stay in your home without having to worry about being evicted. And your job is going to be still there. Except none of that's really true. Well, you are going to get a check of $1,400. Some illegal aliens are going to get a check of $1,400. Your taxes are going to pay illegal aliens, some of them, $1,400. I hope you're happy to share the wealth. A wealth that is pure debt. Because it's not money that you've made yet. It's money that you're going to make in the future. It's money that your kids are going to make in the future. It's money that no one has, but they're taking it away from you. And that's going to have a big cost to you. This plan is going to devastate America. It's going to be a problem short and long term. And while you'll have a great time getting a brand new check, maybe you'll get a brand new big screen TV. In fact, you better get a brand new big screen TV or this is all going to go bust. Don't pay off your debts. Don't pay your rent. You have to buy a big screen TV. Otherwise, this plan fails massively. Let me try and explain why that's the case. First of all, let's look at the evictions. And again, this is from CNN. CNN highlighting the $25 billion in rental assistance and the fact that there will be no evictions until September 30th. Not having evictions is kicking the problem down the road. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the fact that there is debt that is owed. People owe rent. That's bad for homeowners. That's bad for renters. And this is a problem that is growing. Back in August, according to USA Today, in their article, which came out on December 17th, they quoted back in, and I want to make sure I get this part, there it is. They quoted Moody's Analytics from August, that in August, there were at least 12.8 million Americans who are behind $5,400 in rent. Now, to give you an idea of what that means, and we've looked at this before on the program, the average American is spending about $2,000 a month in rent. So the $5,400 represents about 2 months of back rent. That was in August. We have seen roughly 1 in 5 businesses in America on average have closed. 20% of all businesses closed in America forever. And we are seeing those numbers increase in certain states like California, New York, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan. These numbers, New Jersey, these numbers are higher. So we have less jobs for people to go to, and we have less income for those people. So if that $1,400, if you were to spend it, the average American might pay off 1 month of the 2 months of rent they owe on average. But most Americans, as we've seen, there are 4 million Americans at least that have been out of work for at least 6 months. There's another 2 million Americans that have been out of work for at least 3 months. That's a huge number of Americans. And again, 12.8 million Americans are already behind in rent. And many of them didn't get to have a new job. So that number is growing. And even in the article, as identified by USA Today, they admit that this is, well, let me explain it a little better. If you look at the 12.8 million people who owe $5.4 thousand, That means it's $64.8 billion that's owed. $64.8 billion, which according to Moody's, as quoted by the USA Today, could be actually $70 billion. So the number is increasing. It is a problem that is getting worse, as Moody's was expecting. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, let me go back to CNN. We're looking at the rental assistance, according to the American Rescue Plan, is $25 billion. That means that it's less than the problem that exists. More than half as much as is needed. And possibly, if the numbers continue in the way they've been going, by September, we could see double the amount of debt. $130 billion owed, and they just gave you 25. In other words, the problem is almost 3 times as large as the way that Joe Biden is saying we can fix it. That's a problem. And the people who owe that debt aren't getting it fixed. So extending the time frame for this problem to be addressed is just kicking it down the road. That's what we saw happen in December. People were going to get kicked out of their homes on January 1st. Then came the spending bill, the omnibus spending bill, and it was kicked to February 1st. Now it's being kicked to October 1st, but it's still not fixing the problem. 12.8 million people at a minimum have back due rent. Those homeowners, those landlords, still have to pay their taxes. They still have to pay their mortgages. They still have to pay this off, and not all of them can. This is a problem for more than 12.8 million Americans, and it's not being fixed. So there's a problem with the American Rescue Plan. It's not helping millions of Americans that need the help, but it sounds good. Let's look at another part of this, something that's obviously going to be well liked, and it's a promise that we've heard before, and that's the $15 an hour wage. $15, you're going to get a pay raise, except you won't. Except you're not getting that. Let me explain. So right now, the minimum wage only applies to 3% of America. Let me say that again, because most people forget or don't understand or don't know. And it's not really spoken about in the news and media. About 3% of America gets minimum wage. That's it. Everyone else is paid more. So unless you happen to be part of that 3% of America, of the people who are working, which would be about 3 million Americans out of 149 million Americans who work, you're going to get a raise. And everyone else doesn't. And just because the fry guy got a raise doesn't mean you're going to get a raise, because that's not really good for business. But let's assume that everyone gets a raise. That because the $15 million minimum wage goes, you're going to get a raise too, which is not a fact, is not a reality. It hasn't happened. In fact, we know in looking at every single city where the $15 minimum wage has been tried, it has resulted in fewer jobs and fewer hours for all the workers of those businesses. That is a fact. Look at Manhattan. Look at the analysis of the increase to $15 an hour in Manhattan, and you will see less hours, less workers. It hurts more people than it has helped. In fact, it is so bad, I'm going to go back to 2019, when the economy was good. And the CBO, the the Congressional Budget Office. And this is the July 8, 2019, their report, their investigation on increasing the minimum wage. And they looked at all the options. This is an update to their 2017 analysis of increasing the minimum wage to $12 an hour. And their answer on increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour in a good economy with 3.5% unemployment was that the economy, you would see somewhere around as much as 3.5 million people lose their jobs. And the best case scenario that they're imagining is about 1.2 million people will lose their jobs because of the increase of minimum wage. That doesn't seem to help people. I think the poor people, the people who are getting minimum wage, are worse off with more of them having no jobs than those who are having a job. Except it's going to be affecting people at all levels of work. Yes, some people will make more money and more people will be put out of work. And that's not me saying that. That's the Congressional Budget Office. That's an analysis over multiple years from 2017 through 2019, looking at the numbers and figuring out this is a bad thing. And we've seen that as a reality in Manhattan, in Portland, in every single city where the $15 an hour minimum wage has been done. This is a fact. The question is, how bad will that fact be? Well, I think it's going to be a lot worse than what they were estimating when the unemployment rate was 3.5% and the economy was doing well. Because as we know, the unemployment rate is significantly higher now. The economy is excessively worse off. We have bigger problems now than in 2019. So let's consider this. You work for XYZ, small business. Average small business in America has about 10 employees, give or take, on average. You work in a small business. That small business, because of COVID, is at 50% of revenues, only making half as much money as it's been doing. And many of their competitors, many businesses, don't even make that much. But let's assume you've only lost half your revenues because of COVID and the cost of combating COVID, putting in plastic shields, separating people by 6 feet, wiping down everything every time it's used, all those costs. You're only making, that business is making 50% of its income. And because of that, a couple of people were fired and a couple of people were had their hours cut from full-time to part-time because the business doesn't have the money. The revenue isn't there. And now you want to add a new component, which is a $15 an hour minimum wage. So the pay for anyone who is a starting employee has now just jumped. Some cases by 20%, some cases by 50%, depending on the business and the state it's in. Where's that money coming from? The business already is at half its regular revenues. They're making half as much money, and that's to pay everything. That's not profit. We said revenue, not profit. They're making half as much money to run the business. And now they have to pay you more, which means they have even less money. And they already cut workers. What do you think they're going to do now? By the way, don't forget that Joe Biden is going to be increasing taxes on small businesses. Actually, on all businesses. That's a very, very important part. And I do want to find this here so I can look up that line. I have it. It's in the New York Times article. I'm looking for it as we speak. But yes, Joe Biden is increasing the tax rates. So your business that's making half as much money, half as much revenue, not profit, half as much revenue, that's already had to fire people, already had to put people onto part-time work because they don't have the money, now has to pay people more, and they have to pay more in taxes. How many businesses are going to go out of work because of that? It's an unknown number, but I guarantee you it's more than one. I guarantee you it's enough that, as was already identified by the CBO, they were already expecting 3.5 million people to lose their jobs in a good economy. How many people are going to lose their jobs in a bad economy? How many of these businesses will close forever? The big question. The big question. But there's another part to this that I want to go over. Something that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Because yes, you're going to get a bigger, better check. You're going to get $1,400. Ooh, more money for you. It's free money in your pocket. Okay, great. You're going to get more money in your pocket. But you're not going to be able to spend it like you think you are, because things aren't costing the same. This comes from the St. Louis Fed. And this is part of the Federal Reserve. And you can look this up yourself as I'm showing you on the chart right here. And I want you to see this. Because currently, as you can see, and this is from January 2009, the beginning of the Obama administration, and the chart follows the same basic outlook, even if you stretch it beforehand. But essentially, the cost, this is inflation. This is the cost of goods. This is what things cost you. And if you follow this, you can see inflation is going up. The only time it really had a big dip recently was when we shut down the entire country because of COVID. And then it jumped up. And it's continuing to go higher. At the same time, as we have been pumping money into the economy, pumping billions of dollars into the economy, we've seen that your dollar is worth less and less. Again, going from the same January 2009, beginning of the Obama administration, till today, you've lost 38 cents in buying power. That means every dollar you have is worth 62 cents. If you had a dollar from January 1st, 2009, that same dollar would buy 62 cents today. You're losing money because the government is making new money. They're printing money like crazy. Right in here, you can see we created 4 times as much money as existed before. In the year 2000, we had $4.6 trillion in money floating around the nation. We now have 19.5. That's because the United States government is just printing money to pay for the things they're spending money on. That's where that 6.6 billion comes from. They're just printing money. And I know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I know that, what's his name? Yang. They think this is great. The Yang gang. Oh yeah, we just print money forever. Except you can't, because that money has an impact. What happens is your money is worth less. You can buy less. And if you didn't notice it, the cost of food has been jumping. In fact, it spiked in 2020, and it's continuing to go higher. And as we print more money, which means your money is worth even less. It can buy even less. It can pay for even less. then things are going to cost even more. Food, as an example, will cost more. So on top of the problems that the $15 an hour means there will be more people who will be unemployed. It will mean more people are going to be working part-time. It means that more businesses will close forever. And everything that you pay for is going to cost more money. This is a problem. But you're going to get $1,400. And I want you to understand, this is kind of like what they call stagflation. Most people watching this may not have been alive in the 1970s like I was, 1980s. So you don't know what stagflation is. And Investopedia has a pretty bland explanation of it. But looking at, and this is coming from Wikipedia, there is the demand pull stagflation theory. Well, before I get to that, let me explain. Stagflation, in the best way, is things cost more, but you're not getting more money. You don't have more money in the economy or for businesses or for individuals, but things cost more. And the price keeps going up, even though you make the same exact amount of money, essentially. And I'm not an economist. It is an overly simplified explanation, but that's what stagflation is, essentially. And there is a theory that the demand pull theory, which was created in 1999 by Eduardo Loyo, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, out of Harvard University, saying that if you put a bunch of money into the economy, just create money, you're going to get the exact same result, stagflation. You're just dumping money in. And because you're dumping the money into the economy without anything else improving, you're going to have prices skyrocket up as people make about the same, which is what we're seeing. And again, I'm not an economist. Economists can tell me I didn't get it exactly right. Again, I'm trying to make this so that the average American can get a handle on this. The cost of your food is going up. The more money they print, the less your money is worth. So prices go higher. It costs more money that is worth less to pay for it. Your steak, your eggs, your milk are going higher because that dollar you have is actually worth 62 cents, and it costs more dollars to buy that same milk or eggs or steak. That's as simple as I can really make it. So when they give you $1,400, it's not worth $1,400. And the reason why is because they gave you $1,400. If they gave you nothing, you'd have more money. And they increased the cost of work for businesses, which means less people get to work, which means less people get to get money. And most people aren't going to get the minimum wage anyway, because 97% of the nation never made minimum wage to start with. So I'm trying to make sure you understand. And I've been trying to make this as simple as possible for the average American to see this. I know there's numbers. I know there's charts. I know it takes you to think about it, but I'm trying to make it simple for you. The America Rescue Plan doesn't rescue America. It rescues the Democratic Party. It rescues far left politics. But it doesn't rescue you. What it's saying is more people are going to be put out of work. More businesses will cease to exist. Things will cost more money. And you will eventually be kicked out of your home if you're renting. But it's not actually helping you. It just sounds really good. Because when I say we're spending $15 billion on businesses, that sounds a lot better than figuring out the math and understanding that it means if every single business got this money, the $15 billion, each business would get $1,785. That's basically their rent for 1 month. That's not a lot of money. Not for a business to run when you have to pay for your electric, your employees, insurance, COVID regulations. When you have 50% of your revenues coming in, and they're talking about, well, we'll pay for 1 month of rent in 12 months, even if you're behind. That doesn't help people. That isn't a positive, especially as they're telling you, oh, and by the way, because we gave you the money, everything costs more. We know you don't have enough money now, but you're going to have to make more money just to keep up. And this is probably why the major media won't tell you this. It takes time to explain this. The smartest person in America can't explain this in 30 seconds. Your average modern major media news clip is going to give you 30 seconds and you won't understand it. Not really. And there's more to it than what we've described just in these last 30 minutes. I hope it helps. But it's real simple. The America Rescue Plan doesn't rescue America. It hurts America. It hurts you. It hurts the taxpayers. It's not going to help you. You may think it will. It may feel good today. And then tomorrow and every day after, you're going to feel worse. But maybe you disagree. Maybe you think we misunderstood the numbers. Maybe the charts and the data is incorrect in your mind. Please do explain how we got that wrong. Please explain how this isn't going to be a problem for you. How you disagree with the CBO, the Federal Reserve, all the data. We could all be wrong. Let's hear it. We look forward to seeing your comments in this description and on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time during our live stream. We look forward to hearing from you. And if you found this to be interesting, if you find the data to be of use, please like, share, and most of all, subscribe so that we can fight the algorithms to let more people understand what's actually happening in our government and how they're really not helping us at this moment.